So is this from their legal team? I'm assuming it'd have to be. So then this is what Kin was saying. I'll just post the full NDA so you can read it yourself. So he's saying, I don't even know why he makes this statement here. This is just kind of like irrelevant because it was just like a goofy thing he pointed out, unless he's just blatantly wrong about it. Maybe Kin misread it and maybe it is like a totally normal NDA. I will say I've seen a lot of NDAs in my years. I don't think I've ever seen one that mentions parcels of real estate. Usually they're catered to the situation at hand. Like that's not exactly like a super standard thing. Maybe it's different in the Smash scene. I don't know. But from the many NDAs I've experienced, I've never once seen parcels of real estate being one of the focal points. Ken also said he had a lawyer look at it. I guess that is another good point. Okay, so he's saying that this was a misunderstanding about strong arming and threats, I guess, by extension. That he was excited to talk about it and maybe didn't convey it properly. Which I guess? But Panda said that they were aware of a way that Alan conducted himself that was unprofessional and not good. That doesn't sound like a misunderstanding. If it was a misunderstanding, I feel like Panda would have been much more on that train of, no, Alan never meant anything by this, it was a misunderstanding. I feel like they would have defended that as opposed to just run with it. Like, yeah, we know Alan did something bad. And then, like, be dismissive. But they acknowledged it, right? But if it was a misunderstanding, I feel like they would have just said, like, no, this was a misunderstanding. I guess maybe at that point, like, the Panda PR team wasn't talking with Alan, so I'm trying to give like a really charitable interpretation of it because he's saying something very different than what Panda themselves was saying with that. Thanks to the Prime Cat and Wolf. Panda just admitted what we wanted to hear, but they didn't though, because their first response was like being dismissive of it, which is why it was so poorly received. If they just wanted to say everything that the community wanted to hear, they would have immediately said, like, we are investigating these things. Alan is temporarily put on leave while we go through this situation and shit like that. But they didn't. They acknowledged it and then just kind of were very dismissive. Thanks to the gift sub blammo. Where's the... oh, he didn't transcribe this one? Fuck. So this is a montage of, like, his communications with other TOs where he doesn't mention, like, disappointment for not joining or, like, trying to scare them into joining. Genesis, Low Tide, Shine, and Riptide were all licensed by Nintendo? Wait, what? Genesis has been licensed for every one of their events since Genesis 3? Like an officially licensed tournament? What? That's news to me. I had no idea about that. It's a different kind of license. Well, what's the difference? Why is the Smash community the hardest community to get straight information from? I have no fucking clue. And it doesn't help that Nintendo's also terrible at giving any kind of straight information at all. Fucking awful. So they got explicit permission from Nintendo. So was it like a Nintendo partnered event, or did they just get like the official blessing? I'm assuming it just had to be like the blessing, right? It's not like to the same degree Panda was. It's not like Nintendo and Genesis are they work together. Okay, so they just got the blessing. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I guess when I hear license, I think of what Panda does with Nintendo, where it's like a one-on-one, like we work together hand in hand kind of deal. But this is just Nintendo giving it the nod of approval officially, as opposed to just like a wink wink kind of thing. Okay. Thanks to the resub, JMac. Yeah, no, I didn't do any speedruns of Hello Neighbor tonight. I did Warhammer Dark Tide, which was good so far. I've only done like one mission, but it seems pretty cool. Okay, so it's talking about who hasn't signed and them not going to be like threatening them to join or anything. So this is talking about how great the deal was and how it'd take like a big burden off their plate. I would be very inclined to believe this statement. We get 10% of a much bigger pie. We don't want the full pie. If he wasn't asking for exclusivity, though, right? He still hasn't explained why it was exclusive because it's redacted information in here. I guess that's like a super secret thing. But there'd have to be like a really good reason for it to be exclusive because that's like the exact opposite of we don't want the full pie. Genesis said they were officially partnered with Nintendo in 2017. Oh. Well, that's interesting. I had no clue about that being an official thing. He said it was Nintendo that wanted it redacted, which is unlucky because it'd be really helpful to know what the exclusivity was for then if it wasn't for like a large portion of the community to be under the same umbrella, which would be the full pie as opposed to 10% of a bigger pie where everyone's growing. Thanks, Arisa Blue. Big question we get all the time is what is Nintendo providing that makes the partnership worth it? I don't even care what he says going forward. What are they providing? Fucking nothing. Them just being there in an official capacity is more than they've ever done, and it takes a big headache away of like, will this get shut down by Nintendo? Maybe they do more than that, but all they need to do is just like sign off on it. Like that's all they've ever had to do is just sign off on it, and if they like it, man, maybe even put like some money and like prizes behind it or some shit. But literally just signing off on it's the main draw why everyone wants like a Nintendo license or partnership. So they don't have to fear getting shut down. I hope he addresses their reasoning of not giving the Smash World Tour license being health and safety related. I'd really like more insight on why that decision would be getting made, but I guess Alan might not be the one to clarify it. Again, I would just like to know why the exclusivity then. All of this sounds great. Like, all of this up in here, like, that sounds great, and it makes complete sense. But with the exclusivity thing and, like, wanting them to join the Panda Cup exclusively with all of the rights and everything, that, again, just seems like the whole pie. It's a real shame Nintendo isn't letting him explain that part, because maybe there's, like an actual decent reason for it. The finale, talking about how lit the finale would have been. Would have had arcade games, a carnival section, blackjack, hookers, gotcha machines, and crane games. God damn. And completely free. Woof. Jesus Christ. Okay, so yeah, I guess he doesn't have information on why Nintendo cited health and safety concerns for not giving the license to the Smash World Tour. Like it's just hard to put a lot of stake in this. Like it all does sound amazing, but the facts still remain. In writing, Smash World Tour received notice that Nintendo would not license them, and and this was through their conversations, the time of unlicensed events is now gone. So like even though all of this sounds great, this whole thing about like we're doing this because we want everyone to be able to do Smash events even if it's not with us, the freedom of Smash events, like it clearly like there's a disconnect there between him and what Nintendo's actually doing, which I guess isn't really his fault. Like he's not the one making Nintendo do that shit. I have no clue, Laszlo. These are Risa Bryson and Soul. True. Esports is an industry that's just always losing money, and they take from venture capital. That is legitimately like every single esports org out there. This is not a really good summation. Like his points that he made, like I don't think they were terrible points or anything, but this is a terrible breakdown of it. Smash World Tour stood to gain nothing. Like I think Alan is just blatantly wrong about that. All they stood to lose from, or all they stood from this situation, like the outcome, is complete net loss across the board. Loss of faith from Nintendo. So I don't think the VGBC will ever be getting a license from Nintendo after all of this. That will just never happen. They lost the biggest event of the year for them, which is where they'd make the most money for the $250,000 circuit they put on. So they lost a ton of money on that, a ton of money on putting it all together. Like all of it was a net loss for them. They had nothing to gain, absolutely nothing to gain. So to say that it was the Smash World Tour gambit and say like it was all to try and make themselves the hero for more community eyes is, I think that's a terrible angle to take. Like the points he was making, of course, aren't provable points because there was no evidence, except for like notes he took during conversations. But like the points I think aren't horrible that he tried to make. But this, like the reasoning for it, I think is way off. Like I think that's silly. Even if he wants to take it from a sponsorship angle, that still doesn't compute. Because the sponsors that are in the Smash scene right now have been in the Smash scene for like years now. So it's not like they're even getting new sponsors or wanting new sponsors. And it's not like the sponsors that were sponsoring Panda Cup are going to go to fucking VGBC now after this blow up. They just won't come back. So again, it's just another net loss where VGBC will never get those sponsors or anything. Thanks to the resub. Smooth and tier 1 blammo. I don't know how you get that takeaway though. Abungi. VGBC looks very bad if this is all true because it looks like they were leveraging their place in the public eye to pressure Nintendo. But that would make sense if they did this before getting canceled. Like if they did this months ago, like while they were still fighting for that license, then I would completely agree with the motivation. Like, okay, they're trying to strong-arm Nintendo to force them with public pressure to give them a license. But they had already been declined not only for this year, but for next year, which they didn't even apply for, and they still got declined. So they had only released all of this after they got declined. So there was nothing they could gain from it. There was no public pressure that would get the license back. They had already got the no for an entire 2 years. So they just had nothing to gain from this whole situation. Like you can't, they couldn't pressure them to do it when the decision was already made. But I would agree, if this had happened earlier, that would be a completely rational reasoning. Their sponsors were contingent on Nintendo sponsoring them. Has that been proven? That would be a big thing. Oh, if I had to guess. Oh. Yeah, that would make sense, I guess. Like, after they got declined, then they would have lost their sponsors, lost their money, so thus they needed to make this big song and dance out of it. If that could be proven, that would make sense. Then yeah, then that whole situation would then unfold and look really bad for VGBC. But that's just speculation. All of it is. Easy tier 1-6. But for the entire, Jesus Christ, however long VGBC's been around now, they don't have any kind of history of doing anything manipulative like this. They have like the most goodwill in the community and always have. Like, it doesn't sound like that'd be some kind of galaxy brain plan they would have come up with in order to fuck everyone. That just doesn't make sense. Thanks to resub CJax. Besides Project M. Oh, I guess I don't know that whole situation. Thanks to resub Pegasus. VGBC tried to gain something in place where there was nothing to gain. What did they try to gain though? Again, like I haven't heard an answer that makes sense here of what they tried to gain. All they did was lose. Like, I don't understand what. That's a question to the guy that just said that. What did they try to gain? PR. How does that help them when they lost all this money? How is that PR helpful? They're going to have the same amount of eyes on their content as they always have. If they had no money left to run the event, well, even still, then they have nothing to gain. But yeah, if all of the sponsors were contingent on the Nintendo license, then yeah, that would then make sense for all of this to happen. Or why they would do that. They gained the destruction of one of their competitors. I think everyone still has this really bastardized idea of how this ecosystem has worked, at least as I understand it. Even in Alan's statement, he's talking about how he always wanted to symbiotically work with the community. That's been the norm in the Smash scene. Since it's all grassroots, everyone succeeds together or they all fail together. Like, it's not... I've never seen them viewing each other as competition where they want others to fail. Because it helps them when they don't fail. Like, when Panda was doing well, VGBC was doing well. BTS was doing well. When one of them was struggling, the other two then start struggling. Like, they all needed to work together. It was always ride or die. Like, it's not... Oh, do you hear that? Oh, I was just making motions with my hands on the table. I don't know why you can't even see my hands, but yeah. Like there was just nothing to gain. The eyes are the same. The attention of the community is the same. They already failed and then tried to pin it on Allen to cover. Based on what? Again, that's just pure speculation. Not even Allen makes that claim. I think the most important thing, like, again, all of this is hearsay. Like, there's no hard proof of anything from either side except from Smash World Tour with their side from Nintendo. They do have all of those receipts. Like, they do have that. That is all hard evidence. Everything else is hearsay at the end of the day. But the two big things here is in Smash World Tour's statement as well as what LD posted, there's nothing that's been factually proven incorrect. In Allen's statement, there are two factually just blatantly wrong things that he says that are provably incorrect. And one of them's huge because it's what he put as like the linchpin of his statement of Smash World Tour maybe being a gambit. It's where he said, where was it? Oh, it was right over in here. I'll just Control F. Where was it? Oh, here it is. I've been recently informed the main hotel in San Antonio listed in the Smash World Tour Discord did not have any pre-existing block or any expectation of large groups this weekend. There was no block canceled. It simply never existed. That is provably incorrect. Provably wrong. That is just incorrect. That is a false statement. Top to bottom. Travel stipends for players does not equal hotel block. I think this is pretty solid. Like, everything was booked up, as I understand it. From the thread here, from the people confirming on their side, that all of it was a go. But I guess, yeah, maybe the number one way to do it would be just go straight to the hotel. Look at LD's tweet. Where does it start? Is this just more speculation? Yeah, this is him speculating on how all of this may have unfolded, which is exactly the same thing Allen did. The same thing every side is doing. Yep. So no hard evidence from anything here. It's all just speculation. Thanks to resub Caliborn and Epstein and 5 large fries. What do you mean a bungie? It's not like they just didn't bother to get Nintendo sign off. They were actively trying for the better part of what was it, like 2 years? And being strung along by Nintendo. Like, Nintendo had plenty of chances to just say, like, we're not interested right now in order to stop the Smash World Tour, but they didn't. They kept stringing it along until the very, very last minute. Like, it's not like they just wanted to do it unlicensed. They tried from the inception of it. Thanks to the resub Kita, Fruity, and the Prime Master Slim. Read Ken. We already went through all of Ken's logs, but again, taking notes of a verbal conversation is not evidence. That's not substantiated stuff. Like, you can say anything there and claim that you were taking notes during a conversation. It's what Alan's done here with his notes. Ken also took notes about it. Either side could be completely lying about what I actually said there as a way of having like a little bit of a weapon down the line should they ever need it. It was a transcript, no? A transcript he wrote. I could have like right now I could say the conversation you and I are having is you confessing to a crime and like, wow. User in chat said, "Oh my god, he buried the body underneath the pavement." Like, it's useless. Just because you say you're typing what happened, it's worthless unless it's like an unbiased third party that is transcribing it. It's about the dates. The dates don't matter. The dates are completely irrelevant to a typed up transcript that you are doing during the conversation. It would need to be an unbiased third party, because right now my date would check out. My date would absolutely check out. For example, the Flashing Rod 99. Well, I was just hanging out in chat and we were talking with Flashing Rod and he just started making these weird statements. Oh my god, he just made another weird statement 30 seconds later where, holy shit, he changed his grades in the school's computer system. I don't know what all of this means. Like, it's worthless. Like, the date would check out. I was looking at the Flashing Rod, but the information is useless. Like, I just don't put stock into this, like, I took notes during our conversation and this is the truth, because you can't prove it. Which is why it's just hearsay. He's a tier 1 Ja. It just proves they were talking about it back then. Oh, you're talking about Kin's tweet. Yeah, at the very least, his proves they were talking about Alan and his behavior all the way back in March. That is fair. I thought you were talking about the transcripts. That is a fair thing to say. Alan and Ken and LD were talking about Alan all the way back in March about what he was doing and how they didn't appreciate his behavior. That's fair. This is not claiming to be like a transcript of something that happened. This is just a conversation the two of them had in March. That's fair. And both sides have receipts that they were talking about it back then. Yeah, but on Alan's side, it's just him talking about like what isn't, like who isn't signed, who is signed, and like we did everything we could. We gave them as many carrots, but it wasn't enough. If they don't want to join, they don't want to join. Like, his is just very matter of fact. Like, yes, we didn't get them, and here's how we responded back then, like internally. The first statement. What first statement? You talking about the very first thing up here? Because this is just his notes. Thanks for resub, Ted. The date. But why does that date matter? This is Alan taking those notes. And, like, that's... Am I misunderstanding this? Wasn't this between him and... Who was it? That he clarified further down. This is just him relaying his notes. Or are you just saying, like, he was still talking about how things weren't great between them back then? If that's what you're saying, then that makes sense. Oh, you're just saying that he was talking about them back then. Oh, okay. Then yeah, you're just saying the same thing, like, with Ken, but with Alan. Gotcha. Thanks for resub, Ted, Fire, and the Prime Duckus. Exactly, they both hated each other back then. Yeah, that much is very clear. Which is why I find it weird that he made an entire song and dance out of, like, why are they stonewalling me, why aren't they replying? Well, it's because you didn't like them, they didn't like you, so they didn't want to work with you. Like, that's very clearly why they're not responding. That's not eye-opening, and that's not really a knock against them. Like, if they don't want to work with you because they didn't like how the conversations went, they're not going to work with you. It's just that simple. Thanks for resub Transowu and the Razzle Dazzle. Seems more sad than anything else. Well, it is more sad than anything else. This is a massive hit to the entire Smash tournament community. The Marriott website actually has a page for the Smash event booking. Oh, that would be such a dagger in his, like, actual really wild claim. Hold on. Let me bring it up here and look a little deeper. Alright, where do you go to see that, Silver? At the very top? Oh, well, yeah, actually, it is literally called Smash World Tour Super Smash Con Fans and Family, yeah. How long did it take you to find this? Yeah, because this was absolutely booked. It is literally named after it. Yeah. So, again, that is just a blatantly wrong statement. It was the Genesis reply to Alan. Oh, Genesis replied to them about it. Like the actual Genesis? Oof. This too. What's this? The Techport Center, aka the venue website, had an event page for Smash World Tour as recently as November 27th. It's been removed sometime since. And then here's the cache. Yeah, so this is yikes. So it's just wrong then. Like his claim is just wrong. Thanks a gift sub, Dylan. Yeah, that was just unequivocally false. Which is a very bad thing. That's a huge lie to make. To claim that they may not have ever had intentions of fully running it. So no way. Wait, is this from one of the TOs of Genesis? Holy shit, this is actually from a TO of Genesis giving a character witness statement on Alan. This is, as I've just learned, Genesis is like an official licensed partner with Nintendo, or at least has been. Got some shit to say, not going into detail, but from the very first moment Alan opened his mouth to the last time we spoke, nothing but snake-like sounds could be heard, like that shit in Harry Potter. Parcel tongue, my man. It's called parcel tongue. That's aggressive. Again, this is all hearsay, but I think it's important to note, every TO so far has only had negative things to say about their interaction with Alan. There has not been a TO to come forward as like a positive character witness for Alan yet. Now, maybe that's because the public pendulum has swung against him and they might be a little fearful. That's very possible. But the sheer amount of very similar stories that these TOs are sharing about him is a little absurd. Like the volume. Like, it seems like that'd be a hard thing for all of them to come together on as like a fuck this guy kind of thing. One thing for sure that was constantly reiterated in our calls was that Smash World Tour would be canceled, that Smash World Tour would be blacklisted, and that Gimmer was blacklisted, and it was only a matter of time before they were shut down because, trust me, I know. Trust me was a term he used a lot. He at one point called himself the savior of Smash on a call. This is a lot. Again, this is more just like hearsay. There's no evidence, but this is like the ninth or 10th TO to share very similar experiences. In one call, it was confirmed that he was to be the licensed broker for the whole scene. This has the potential to be really, really bad for everyone. That means eventually, if he wanted to, you would have to be part of the Panda Cup to get a license, one person having the keys. If that's true, that is a massive problem. Obviously for the reason he points out, but also if he just doesn't like you, he never has to grant you that license. And thus, if the time of unlicensed events is truly behind us, like Nintendo said in their call with Smash World Tour, if all of that's true, then that means you would not be able to run events without Alan's blessing as the license broker. Assuming, of course, this is all very, like, on the nose accurate shit. I can go on and on, but generally most of the shit he's saying in that 31-page garbage tweet is a lie. It's riddled with manipulative ways of speaking, and it's just more of what I expect of a guy who thinks he's the fucking savior of Smash. This is, I guess, an important perspective because he is the TO of a very big event that is also licensed by Nintendo and was not even mentioned in Alan's tweet or in Alan's statement. Thus, he was not put on the defensive. He didn't need to say anything. He wasn't forced to say anything. He's doing this because he felt so strongly about it with his own interaction. He had absolutely no stake in this other than just wanting to come out here and give his take on how he feels about it based on how he's talked with Alan. So this, I think, is a pretty big one. Thanks for the gift sub, Dylan, and Tier 1 Gideon. Thanks to the resub, Soto. He's not the only TO for Genesis. It doesn't matter if he's the only TO for Genesis, though. He is a TO that has personal experience with Alan, apparently. And being a TO of Genesis is a big deal because he was not named in this at all. Like, that's still an important perspective. I don't know why you're writing it off. TO is tournament organizer. Bobak is an OG. I believe him with my life. Yeah, a lot of people in chat were saying Bobak has a lot of goodwill in the community and has been a really like powerful TO for a long time in terms of like the good he's done for the scene. So this is a statement that does have quite a bit of weight to it. Here's the other main TO for Genesis statement. Damn, everyone's coming forward with statements now. I mean, this was a bombshell from Alan. Even though there was no evidence, it was still a very huge thing for the community. Here, let's pull this one up. So this is another Genesis TO, again, not named in Alan's document whatsoever. They had no horse in this. I want to see what he says. So Crimson Blur is standing up for Ken as a character witness for how they've worked together. To add on to this, I'd like to cite a situation that happened between Genesis and BTS that Ken could have completely thrashed this over privately and publicly, but didn't really even get mad or remotely raise his voice. So this is them defending Ken in what was a very aggressive stance from Alan against Ken. So this isn't him so much talking about Alan here, it's more just defending Ken. Which pokes holes in Alan's interpretation of Ken, posting him as some kind of like boogeyman in the scene. Why is there always so much drama in the Smash community? Isn't it crazy? It's so fucking sad too, because it's all so easily avoidable. It all could have just been so simple. Didn't have to get messy at all. Does anyone have evidence of the communication with Nintendo itself, or is it just between the tournament organizers? Actually, what has Nintendo done during this whole thing? Yeah. So Smash World Tour does have the emails that transpired between them. Of course, they don't have the verbal communications. That, again, is going to fall into hearsay. But they are the only ones that actually have legitimate evidence of what Nintendo has done and what they have said. Everything else is just hearsay. And in Alan's statement, he makes a blatantly false claim that was provably wrong and proven wrong very quickly about it being like a gambit that may have never even wanted to happen, the hotel not even being booked. That is wrong. You cannot make a big lie like this in a statement where you're supposed to be very much a believable narrator, a trustworthy narrator. This lie is a huge red flag for the actual authenticity of the rest. It's such a fucking shame, man. Ugh. At the end of the day, I still think the biggest villain is Nintendo themselves. Had they just been more receptive to working with the community a decade ago, we would have never been in this position to begin with. It would have never happened. There would be no power trips. There would be no hearsay, no he said, she said shit, no potential misinterpretations, no bad blood. Everyone would be on the same goddamn page. It would have been so fucking simple. Thanks to the resub rat sack. Look at Slime's look at Slime's retweet. Let me see. Where? I don't see anything there that's pertinent to this. Yeah, I'm on Slime's Twitter. I don't see anything that's even about this. Oh, I didn't. I didn't. I don't know how I didn't see that. It was right under the pinned tweet. Here, I'll just pull it up on screen. I spent over 2 years working with Ken in an office, never heard him yell or be out of line in even our biggest disagreements. Ken actually taught me a lot about being level-headed and evaluating tough situations with care, especially in meetings / BD initiatives. The amount of people coming out to defend Ken's character speaks volumes. Alan seems to be the only one with this view of Ken. No one else has come forward to corroborate Ken being an asshole. So that pokes doubt in that entire section. Because again, it's all just hearsay. Even the character witness statements are just them giving their own anecdotal proof. But there's so many of them, whereas Alan is just one. And for what it's worth, I have also talked to Ken. Since having Moist Esports and being more intertwined with the community, I have also talked to Ken, and I have nothing but a positive experience with him as well, but I don't know him to the same level as everyone else. As someone coming from the Dota community, Ken has been nothing but professional during his time. Yeah, that sounds about right. Thanks to resub Boiler, Yukiwi, and the Prime Gentleman. More and more OG members of the community come out to talk about Alan being a snake, makes it harder and harder to believe a word he says. Exactly. At the end of the day, it is all hearsay, but with so many people all saying similar things about their interaction with Alan, and so many people coming together on Ken's side about how his interpretation in Alan's document makes no sense based on the years they've spent working with Ken, I really think that speaks a lot. Kadoran just posted something. What'd Kadoran say? I can corroborate this claim, and this is with Bobak, with Bobak's statement.
Signing me, what would get the ground rolling to have me sponsored under Panda? And straight up, what Dr. Allen told me was like, yeah, the thing is that I don't really believe in Melee.
Weird thing to say when they have
I
Melee
just
players,
don't believe in Melee
one of the best in the
because
world.
The numbers just aren't there. The numbers just aren't there. Like, I believe in Ultimate more because, there's all these YouTube numbers, and then you look at Melee's YouTube numbers, and it's just not there. And if I were to sign someone like you, it's like, I would maybe give you like $500 a month.
Jesus Christ. Again, it's just hearsay with verbal conversations, but that is yet another one against Allen, and this is to corroborate Bobak's claim about him not caring about Melee. This is him corroborating what Bobak was saying with his interaction. These are totally unrelated people, by the way. Kadoran has nothing to do with Bobak. Bobak is a TO for Genesis. Yeah, I mean, this is a lot. It's a lot. Thanks to the resub Falma. Hey, Rickles. No, of course, man. This is something I'm very passionate about. Without the Smash community, there wouldn't have been a Moist Esports. Like, it's a community that I'm very much deeply passionate about. Don't even know what Genesis is besides Alan angered them. Well, Alan didn't anger them, though. Like, Alan didn't even mention Genesis. And Genesis is huge. You don't know Genesis? Like, even outside of Smash, Genesis is just fucking massive. For fighting games. I guess if you're not in the FGC, you won't care. But with their interaction, they just felt so strongly that they wanted to come forward to talk about it. They didn't have to say anything. Like, Alan didn't mention them, didn't throw any kind of shade or shit, take a stinky little dump on him or anything. They just felt so strongly about him being untruthful in his statement that they wanted to publicize it. He did? Where? When did he mention Genesis? Other than when they didn't sign. Oh, this is like when he was talking about their positive interactions. Yeah, it wasn't anything negative about Genesis. Yeah. And then they mentioned him for a licensed event without being part of Panda Cup. See? Oh, that was your point. He made them hate them so much that they came out against him, even with Alan being nice in his statement to them. That is a good point, I suppose, yeah. Alan used them as an example of a positive interaction, yet Genesis did not have a positive interaction with him. That's not how they viewed it. That is a fair point. Man, fuck me. The question now is, does Nintendo go full scorched earth on licensed events? Unlicensed events? I fucking hope not. In the most ideal of circumstances, this whole situation is a big scar on the Smash community, but it heals with Nintendo taking the first step saying, this is a mess. Boys, we done made a big ol' shit stain on these britches. But it has shown us the passion of the community and we want to work closely with other organizers. I don't see that happening. I certainly don't see it happening. But that would be the absolute optimal outcome.